Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Shoop and Aye-Ajay show. It's AJ Sabalski here with Ben Shoop. You know, a lot to discuss today. Obviously, Bills Chiefs. What a great game it was. Ben, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Like we said, every week it's another Victory Tuesday. I mean, even though technically it's 2 days after the game, I'm still going to say it's Victory Tuesday because every single day after a win is phenomenal. The whole week just is better after a Bills win. Like I don't know how, but it is just is. And now we're here going into the bye week. Can relax this week, but got the job done in KC.
Yeah, a lot to talk about today. Obviously, the Bills kind of a come from behind victory after, being up 17-10, giving up 10 unanswered, and then Josh Allen closing it out. Just your biggest takeaway from that game and, what this means for the Bills in terms of, how much to you does this game mean in terms of, winning it?
I mean, I think it has more to do with down the road than right now. I think it's just having that 2 game cushion now on KC for the 1 seed in the AFC is huge. And I don't even know if there's another team that's going to be able to challenge either us or Kansas City for that 1 seed in the AFC. And just having that 2 game lead, I think, is big. I think, obviously it's great to win in KC, but at the end of the day, we did the same thing last year, and it's going to only come down to the playoffs. But that's where it helps us this game now. Winning this game now helps us down the road in the playoffs because if we can get that 1 seed, it will be in Orchard Park throughout the playoffs. If we have to play KC again, which we probably will in the playoffs, so I think it's more down the road helping us. But obviously, it's great to just get a win anyways and still pull out a close one. Everybody showed up. I mean, it was just great game.
Yeah, it's crazy that Nick Wright did a segment after the game on First Things First over on Fox, and he was just like kind of like a funny because he's a big Chiefs fan. He kind of memed the Bills in terms of he had this whole speech like prepared and was like, I'm gonna the Bills and Josh Allen and Sean McDermott to the class of the AFC. Josh Allen hurdled an opponent, blah blah blah. And he was like, forget this. This is last year's. This doesn't mean anything. So it's kind of interesting in terms of like for me, like, yeah, it's a big win. I know it. I like, we hype it up in terms of, the relevance and like how important the game was for both teams. But honestly, in terms of, does it really matter in January? I don't really think this does. I think the Chiefs have the potential to add some weapons. I think the Bills could add some weapons. And I'm just pulling up the stats real quick. I just want my biggest takeaway from the game is how even these teams actually are in terms of, just the overall game. It was just insane how even it was. Allen threw for 329, had 3 touchdowns, 27-40. Mahomes was 25-40 for 338 and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the 2 interceptions. I think Josh Allen got a little more help from his run game, and I think Josh Allen got a little more help from his defense than Pat Mahomes did. I think it's a good thing that the Bills were able to run the ball in this game. Singletary had 5 yards of carry, 85 yards on 17 carries, and it's a good sign in terms of the run game that we've needed to see improve. And then obviously the defense is just it without Micah Hyde, Trey White's not even back yet. It's incredible to see what they did, and they were blitzing more than ever, lining up in man-to-man. I think more teams are going to do that against the Chiefs until they can, prove that their receivers can get open on the outside. Use those man looks and whatever. But overall, dude, just how close these teams really are. And, it's going to be a toss-up every week, even if they come to Buffalo in January. Like, obviously, I'll give the edge to the Bills. I think they have the better roster, just like better 53 roster in total. But it's Pat Mahomes. You can never count him out. And, I think if the Bills don't get a stop on defense yesterday, Pat Mahomes had two chances to end the game. And, Von Miller obviously came up huge and, sacked him on a 3rd and 6, and then got the ball back with a minute, forced him out of the pocket with a nice spin move, flushed him out. Matt Milano was the quarterback spy. Blitz, Tron Johnson read it, picked the ball off. So two big plays by a defense that, we're getting our money's worth right now. Obviously, Von, 6 sacks, 6 games, on pace for 17 sacks. So just overall how close these teams are is just, crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also just when you're going back to your point about how it's this game, especially to the media, it's not really relevant until Allen wins in the playoffs. But I will say this: Josh Allen has the past 3 games against the Kansas City Chiefs has left the field winning that game, and that's the last time every time he touches the field for the last time he was in the lead against Kansas City. So this just proves to me now that the defense did step up. I mean, like you said though, if they don't get that interception, if Mahomes doesn't pump fake and he actually throws it the first time, Sky Moore was a little open. Do they end up driving down the field and do we end up losing that game? I mean, it's really a good question because, yeah, I mean, we held them to 20 points, but I mean, it's not like Mahomes played his best game ever. I mean, he had that turnover, uncharacteristic turnover in the end zone. He had the other end zone, not the other interception, obviously at the end of the game, which it's uncharacteristic for him to have 2 interceptions in a game. I believe that's his 4th time ever in his career he's had 2 interceptions or more, and that's the 2nd time it's happened against the Bills. But I do like what you were talking about with Von Miller. He's not even playing a lot of snaps either. Like that's the crazy part to me is he's not playing every snap, and like he usually does his whole career. I mean, he's been playing almost every down, and I think it actually is keeping him a little more fresh, keeping him ready to go. So when he does get on the field, he's really like he's always bringing his all. He's always ready to go get after the quarterback. So it is going to be interesting to see what the defense looks like throughout the season, especially going into the playoffs. But having this pass rush it's just a huge step that I think we've been missing since Allen's been on the team. We haven't had that elite pass rush. So having Bond come in, it's been worth every penny. I do want to ask you though, what was your reaction to the play? I'm about to bring it up on the screen. This play right here. What was your initial reaction after this play? Another hurdle. I mean, it's every time he does it, he's done it at least once a year, I think, since he's been in the NFL. So what is your reaction to this play and every time he does something like this?
I mean, it's just like the first thought like I had after I mean, obviously in the moment, I just had this feeling like, wow, like that's our quarterback. He can do those things. And it's like it's something where I feel like I'm almost 100% positive after he makes a play like that we're gonna get the ball in the end zone. No matter what, no matter what, how much time's left or whatever the case may be. He's going to get into the end zone and they're going to score and go up, and it's going to be up to the defense. I just remember sitting there and being like, knowing in my heart, I'm like, we're going to win this game or at least, go up. And that's exactly what he did. He threw a dot to Dawson Knox on a flag route. He told Dawson, actually, I saw in the Cobb Brandt basement pod that Josh was on today every Tuesday. He told Knox to go in instead of out because he saw that the safety was, bracketing Diggs, doubling him, and Knox didn't listen to him. He went, left, and that was, he still fit the ball over the DB, and Knox did the rest and caught the ball. So I just, my thought was just, it's not Tom Brady or Peyton Manning anymore. It's evolutionized, more athletic Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and beg your pardon, I think Josh Allen's looked more like, the Tom Brady in the last couple of matchups in terms of winning. I'm not going to say that he's got to do in the playoffs in the big games, obviously. But you can make a case right now that there's no better player in the world than Josh Allen.
Well, I do want to bring up this comment real quick from Josh. Every time Josh hurdles someone, he says, yes, amazing, never do that again. I think a lot of Bills fans feel that. And I don't know if you caught it watching the Kyle Brandt show when he was asked about this moment and what he feels right during and after he does it. And he just responded saying, like, when he's in the moment, he kind of just does it. He doesn't really think about and then after the play, he doesn't think, he's in his head. He's not thinking, that was awesome. He's in the game. So he goes right back to it, which is funny because I feel like most people, I mean, if I was him and I hurdled someone after, I'd be like, that was awesome. Like I would, I don't know about you. I don't know how Josh wouldn't do that, but he did also mention how he does think that every time he hurdles someone, somebody's going to at some point flip him over. And that is the exact reaction I think a lot of Bills fans have is it's awesome that he does this, but there is going to be some point where if he hurdles someone, somebody's just going to go straight up and he's going to flip over, land on his head, whatever. So it is a nerve-wracking thing. Do you think that he should stop doing it, or do you think it's just one of those things where, it seems like he knows when to do it, and you trust him to know when to and when not to hurdle someone?
I mean, yeah, dude, I don't really, at this point, man, like whatever it takes. And I think he knows that. I think that's the type of player he is. I think, Rich Eisen was saying, like, not only do you have to beat his talent, not only do you have to beat his arm, but you have to beat his heart. And, Josh Allen has one of the biggest competitive, he's one of the most competitive players I've ever got to, watch in my life, in terms of just how bad he wants it. And I think doing those things, even if he might not, like he said, he doesn't really think about it, goes on to the next play. But, I'm sure once in a while he sits back and he's like, like that really like inspired me to finish that drive and gets me, in a groove. I know he was in a groove starting that second half after he kind of had he had a couple incompletions there. I think he was like 4 for 10 at one point before that last 98-yard drive that we can also actually talk about if you want. But no, I think, I don't really care when he does it. If he does it every game and it works, it works. I think that's just who he is as a person. And there's no other quarterback ever in NFL history that can do what he does both in the air and with his legs. It's unfathomable. It really is.
Yeah, that reminds me of what, I don't know if you saw the clip of Emmanuel Ajo talking today on ESPN. I think it was on ESPN. And
no, first things first. It was hold on, I can look it up. Go ahead.
LaShawn McCoy was on there, and Joy Taylor, I think, was on, and somebody else who I'm blanking on. But I mean, he ended up saying, which is true. I think this is true, and I think if you're a Kansas City fan, you have to accept this. Is Mahomes is amazing, right? He's a great quarterback, but Mahomes can't do everything Josh Allen does. Josh Allen can do everything Patrick Mahomes does, and I think that's honestly a true statement. They both obviously have the great arm. They both can extend plays. But when it comes to running the ball, Josh is better. When it comes to, maybe eluding pressure, it's close, but I would still, I think, give the edge to a little bit to Josh. Obviously, Mahomes turns the ball over a little bit less, but I think Allen turns the ball over a little more because of those plays where he's trying to just extend it, where, you talked about his heart and how you're going to have to beat him, not just by what he can do, but also he's going to outplay you. He's going to work harder than you. And I think that's one of those things that kind of leads him into those mistakes. Even that fumble against against Kansas City this past Sunday, I don't think that was designed for him to be able to pitch it to McKenzie, because McKenzie didn't even seem like he was close to being ready for it. But it's just Josh trying to make a play, right? And it ended up obviously not working out. But those types of plays are just, that just shows how much of a baller he really is and how much he really cares about winning. He's just going to try to do anything and everything possible. So I think Kansas City fans do have to realize that Mahomes is a phenomenal quarterback. Obviously, him and Allen are easily the top two. I think it's interchangeable. I think both, you can't be wrong by saying one of them's better, I don't think. But it's just, I think you have to accept the fact as a Kansas City fan that there's things that Josh Allen can do that Patrick Mahomes can't.
Yeah, 100%. I think I don't know what the show is, but I know it's on Fox, and yeah, Shady's on there and stuff. So, but anyways, despite the fact, I just want to talk about the Dawson Knox kind of, what this means for him in terms of someone who, Allen spoke about it today, and he said, he's one of the greatest men in that locker room. He's, one of the most one of the best guys in the locker room, hands down. Really does a good job on and off the field in the locker room. And obviously he lost his brother earlier in the year. Things happen. He was kind of he banged up a little bit, injuries, and he haven't really heard much about him. Quentin Morris was kind of taken, had a couple good games, and Reggie Gilliam was kind of being used as that tight end position when Knox was kind of dealing with all that, and he's had a lot of ups and downs. What does that touchdown with a minute left in that moment, to bring that in, after everything he's been through, what does that say to you, to the player and person Knox is? And do you think, this will further, bring more success to him this season?
Yeah. And I think obviously what he's gone through is something that nobody ever wants to have to go through. I mean, it's really a tragedy. And I think it really does show that like not just even how great of a person he is or anything, just how hard he works, man. Like that's the thing. It's like most people, including I think us too, if something like that happened to us, like it would take us, I think, at least like a little bit to not be able to come back. And if we were NFL players, I don't think I'd be able to come back as fast as he did. Which that's the crazy part is he came back and yeah, people were getting on him because he just got that contract and he had a kind of a slow start to the season, but I mean, you also got to think about that he did have injuries. He did have all of this going on outside of football that he had to deal with. And for him to fight through, I think it does show how hard of a worker he is and why he got that money, why Brandon Beane gave him that contract. And he deserves it because he does have the skill to be a great, great tight end in this league. And I think the touchdown at the end of that game also, I think, shows that they have to get him more involved. They have to. I mean, I think we are better when Dawson Knox is involved in the passing game. And I get we want to spread the ball around. We want to get it to guys like Gilliam, Diggs, Davis, even Quentin Morris now. Tommy Sweeney got a catch yesterday or Sunday. And we want to get the ball out, but you got to give it to your best players when it's crucial. And that's the point, I think, is it showed that Dawson Knox can show up in those big time moments and he can be that guy at the tight end spot and in the red zone. So I think it's more showing that he needs more targets. He needs to be able to be involved more, especially not, I mean, also because of the fact that he did get that contract. We didn't pay him just to be a blocker. We paid him to score touchdowns, which he can do, and he's a huge threat for us. So I think we just have to get him more involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And just wanted to bring that up because obviously that was, probably the biggest play of, his honestly young career, catching a game-winning touchdown to, get yourself, your feet under you, kind of get some reps in and, play good football. But I want to talk about Isaiah McKenzie. Obviously did not have the best game in terms of Allen put in a good spot, kind of lost his footing and, sailed over his head in the red zone, cost a field goal. And then obviously the fumble, the miscommunication with Josh. I think that was a design play. I think McKenzie's just sometimes not always, he's like he's got the talent and he's got the speed, but I feel like sometimes he's just not aware of like he sometimes messes up like the fundamental things or the simple things. So are you worried about Isaiah McKenzie, or do you think it was just like an off game and you're still confident with him, or who do you think, if obviously Shakir, or if you're really worried about, what we have at the slot, maybe, OBJ, obviously. Von Miller said today again on USA Today that he's going to be a Buffalo Bill. I don't know if that's all smoke to help, because Von and Odell are really good friends. So I don't know if that's close, close friends he's trying to get like other teams to inquire about it to try and get him more money in terms of like maybe, like Kansas City or someone like really like paying him a lot more money just because, oh my God, he's going to go to the Bills. That can't happen. So kind of like Von Miller kind of helping his boy out. I don't know what that is, but are you confident at the slot receiver position?
I'm confident with who we have. And I will say this, McKenzie has struggled since the season started. I mean, you saw it with Josh's first interception of the year. It was McKenzie's fault. I mean, he should have caught the ball and it kind of just got taken away from him. But at the same time, we do have to look at who else we have, like Shakir, like even Hodgins, who Hodgins hasn't played a lot, but he's been good when he's been on the field. And then, obviously Crowder's hurt. There's the talk of OBJ. I do think we have to see a little bit more of Shakir because of McKenzie's like struggles so far. And he has the skill. I have no doubt about his skill, but it worries me now that it's been a couple games that this type of things happened where it seems like he's just not the same as he was last year. So like that's my concern, is that it's going to keep piling up. He's not going to be able to get over it, and that it's going to really affect him mentally, because it is tough when you're a player like that and things like this keep happening. Because that's the other part, is it's not things. Most of these things aren't like him tripping in the end zone. That's just a freak thing that happened, right? Like he's not going to trip 9 times out of 10, or even maybe even 99 times out of 10. He doesn't trip there, right? So I think it's just part of it is a mindset thing that I hope it doesn't keep on growing and building in his head, that every time he goes to run a route or every time a ball is coming his way, it's just, oh, I really got to make this play, right? So I think he's got the skill. I think it's just going to come down to his mindset. And I think the other part of it is that I always find interesting is we always talk about how when guys make mistakes, especially when they're young, like especially James Cook, right? James Cook fumbled on his first carry. You didn't really see him the rest of the game. I don't even know if we did see him the rest of the game. He hasn't done it with Isaiah McKenzie, right? He's done it with a lot of other guys, but he has not done it with Isaiah McKenzie, who's already had crucial mistakes happen. I mean, the dropped interception in the first game was in the red zone. This past tripping one where he tripped, it was in the red zone. I mean, we were in the red zone on the fumble too. So it's little things that are costing us big time. And obviously we won both those games, but what does the score look like if he doesn't make those mistakes? So I think he has the skill. It's just got to come down to mindset. And I think also McDermott might want to look into maybe not completely benching him or whatever, but maybe splitting him and Shakir in that slot role for whenever McKenzie would be on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it is a little concerning, but I've always been a big McKenzie guy. And I think he's very quick. He can run after the catch. He has made some mental errors, but I think this is his first season really being that guy in the slot. And, he might be in the league longer than Shakir, but it's really his first time kind of, being the main slot guy. Moving on to the biggest surprise player or like just the overall, story of the season so far for the Bills heading into the bye week. We have time to sit back, just enjoy some football this weekend, watch, I would say one of the weirdest NFL seasons I've ever seen. I think there's like 3 or 4 bad teams. And then I think there's a handful of just like the Jets. You got the Jets, Giants. You got all these teams that they've just like been winning games. And, it's really just like a lot of average teams kind of trying to get that home field win that division. What for you, who's your biggest surprise player and, kind of the biggest surprise, from the Bills as a team so far through 6 weeks?
Well, I'll go over my surprise player first, which is this man right here, Reggie Gilliam. I mean, I'm a big fullback guy. I don't know about you. I think everybody appreciates a fullback touchdown or just when fullbacks are doing things. But, I mean, he's really been shocking me. Like, I didn't really see him being involved in the offense as much, but I'm kind of liking it. Like, it's almost like he's a tight end / fullback guy that can, out of the backfield, just dump it off to him. He'll get you some yards. Like, so... And even against this touchdown against Tennessee, where this picture was, I mean, he made a play there. He was tackled. Like, he had 2 guys on him. He ended up getting out of it and getting into the end zone. So I think Gilliam has definitely shocked me the most. It's been nice. He got that contract extension right before the season. So I really like what they're doing with him. I really like what Dorsey's doing. I know Dable didn't really use him too much as a utility guy. And now you're seeing him used a lot more. So I think Gilliam's been the biggest shock to me. But as a team, what shocked me the most, honestly, I think it's the young guys. I think especially at corner, seeing Benford, seeing Elam. I know Elam, obviously, he's had his ups and downs this year. But even guys like DeMar Hamlin, who, didn't have much playing time coming into this year. It's just really been those young guys that have stepped up. Dane Jackson stepped up. It's been nice to see. Even James Cook starting to really come around when he's on the field. He's been looking good. And Quentin Morris is another guy who stepped up, and he's young. So I think it's the young guys that have really shocked me, but it's been a pleasant surprise. So those are my 2 for the Bills as a team and individually that has surprised me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my biggest surprise player is Tremaine Edmonds. I think a contract year. I think many Bills fans were fed up with him. He's like, he just can't. He make all his tackles are 8-10 yards down the field. You hear the narrative. I think Tremaine Edmonds has played one hell of a season, and he was a guy that I think that Brandon Beane might actually consider resigning at the end of the season, just based on the fact that he's looked really good, dude. He's still only 24 years old, I think a couple months younger than Kenny Pickett, who's a rookie. He's got a lot of good years left. You don't find many good linebackers. He's long. He gets in the passing lane. He's been running downhill. Him and Milano have just looked excellent in terms of that linebacking core. I think they've done a really phenomenal job so far. He's made a couple splash plays. He had that tip on that one pick that Poyer got when it tipped off Edmonds, then Hyde, then Poyer grabbed it. So I'm really surprised and pleasantly, happily, like very one of the best surprises that I could have had in terms of this overall team. Team wise, I'm going to have to go with beating Baltimore, Kansas City, and LA on the road in the first 6 weeks. I thought, I knew the Bills were great. I knew we were going to be a Super Bowl contender, but I didn't think that we would beat, those three teams on the road. I think that is a testament to the development of this team. I think they came out, handled the pressure on opening night, and wound up the team 31-10. I think, Baltimore's been a good team. I know they've been up double digits every game and have lost, 3 of those games. So they're going to figure stuff out. They're going to be a good team that the Bills are going to have to face in January, I'm sure, if they want to, get to that Super Bowl. And then in terms of, Kansas City, just the gut of I know we all know who Josh Allen is. I think that those questions are answered. I think that the last 2 games, in the last 3 games against Kansas City, he's thrown for, 950 yards, 10 touchdowns, no picks, 130 passer rating. So that question was, answered. But despite a scare at the end of the first half when they, got that field goal with 12 seconds left, the defense, man, they're playing at a different level, and it's the Von Miller effect. And the way this defense is, just the pass rush, the way they're playing, the way they contain Mahomes, force the turnovers, Elam's ripping the ball out. Tron Johnson makes another big play in a big moment. That's what he's known, that's what he's been since he's got here. He may struggle, but he always makes that big play in that big moment. I think Matt Milano is the best player on this defense, hands down. I think he's the best, tackler. He had a great tackle in this game on the open field against the rookie from Kansas City. I don't know his name, number 10, but
Paccio.
Yeah. So they're defensively just, the way they played in all of these games. The Ravens game, we were down a lot. The defense held ground. So it's just a very impressive for me for them to win those 3 games on the road. The defense answers questions about, can they close out games, because they weren't the last couple of years. Josh Allen was, but the defense wasn't. So that, that's very impressive to me. And, Tremaine Edmonds, great job, kid.
Yeah, I think I'm going to piggyback off your thought about 5-1. If you would have told me that we'd be 5-1, I would say, okay, like I could see that. But if you would tell me that the one loss we had was against the Miami Dolphins, I would have said you were crazy. And look at us now. That's the only loss we have out of the first 6 games. It is crazy, and obviously that was a freak game, and we still almost won that game. We are Josh Allen. One Josh Allen play where he's not exhausted. If he's not exhausted on that play beforehand, and he doesn't short arm it and bounce it to the end zone, that's a touchdown. We're 6-0 right now, which is crazy to think about. Like that, the schedule is only getting easier too. Like Green Bay is our next opponent. They don't look that great, right?
Jets look tough, man. Jets look tough. I know their quarterback's not the greatest. I know they're kind of Salah's kind of, not really airing them out and letting them throw 30 times, 40 times a game, but their defense is good. Their special teams is good. And Breece Hall's one of the best, I think, rookie of the year right now.
Yeah. The Jets are going to be a team that I'm interested to see throughout the season, because I think we both said it before the season. They're not bottom feeders anymore, but they're not there yet to be competing really heavily. Yeah, they're in that weird zone that we were kind of in 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where or 3 years ago, where like they're just starting to get it together, right? They had a really good draft. They may have found their guy, maybe not, but yeah, they're going to be a team to watch. But yeah, it's and when going back to your thought about the defense too. It has been crazy watching this defense because of the fact that we don't have Hyde. We don't have Trey White back yet. And I heard a lot of Kansas City fans talking yesterday, today, the day after, right after the game, saying, oh, the Bills only put up 24 points against our two backup corners. We started technically didn't start both of them, but Dane Jackson got beat up a little bit. Benford got beat up a little bit in that game again. We had a 4th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, and a rookie 1st-round pick. So we had 2 rookies and a 4th-round pick starting at our corners. On top of we don't have an all-pro safety, and we don't have an all-pro corner that we should have back. So this defense held them to 20 points. I think that's even a bigger story, is that we held Kansas City at home in Arrowhead to 20 points, which is unbelievable. And when I look at that, the Bills saying, though, the Chiefs held the Bills to 24 points, it's not accurate to me. also because of the fact that we had that weird fumble in the red zone, which that's at least 3 points. And then if Isaiah McKenzie doesn't trip, that's another 7. So in my head, we scored 24 or 34 points, but we just, little things just prevented us from actually doing that. And I think they'll clean it up, especially if we're in Buffalo. That stuff doesn't happen. I don't think McKenzie trips. I don't think that he drops the ball on that fumble. So I think, honestly, the defense, it's actually been shocking to see, like I said, the rookies and the young guys stepping up, making these plays. And like you said, I think easily have the best roster from 1 to 53. And it's showing right now where if a guy does go down, I think we're both confident in whoever has to step up and take that spot over at any position on the football field. So it really, it has been a crazy thing to look at. It's been awesome to look at. But yeah, now we're into the bye week. Rest up, get guys healthier. We're already getting so much healthier. Trey White probably will be back against Green Bay, which I can't wait to see him back on the field. But yeah, 5-1, like you said, it's a shock to see us at 5-1. I do want to ask you though. I'm going to bring it up. This is the AFC, the whole entire AFC, and their standings and everything. What has surprised you about the NFC or the AFC the most, whether it's a team, player, whatever it is? What has surprised you the most?
Before I get into that, I just want to mention Leslie Frazier deserves a head coaching job, and the only knock against him obviously was the debacle last year. But if you're a team looking for a head coach and your defense is struggling, go and watch this game. In the offseason and watch the game plan that Leslie Frazier had for Pat Mahomes and how he held him to 20 points. And you'll want to get Leslie Frazier as your head coach immediately. But in the AFC, let's look here. I'm gonna have to go with. I'll go with one player. I'll go Bailey Zappi from New England. I think Bailey Zappi there is a serious quarterback controversy in New England. I think we know what Mac Jones is. I think he's he's an average guy that can win you games if you have a good team around him. But Bailey Zappi, man, he was stepping into that pocket, making great throws. He's really looked the part. He's accurate. He looks like he's an NFL quarterback. He really does. I know that he threw for 6,000 yards at Western Kentucky and 62 touchdowns, which is just absurd. For a college, you're only playing 12, 13 games. So he's just been, the last 2 games looked really good. And those New England games coming up are not easy either. But overall, I'm going to go with in the AFC, the weakness in the AFC West and how good the AFC East has looked. I think going into the season, I think you could make a case that the AFC North and the AFC West were the 2 best divisions in the AFC. And looking at it now, AFC North, the Bengals are, the Bengals are starting to look good. I think they're going to get hot. I think they have enough talent. I think they have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. I think Joe Burrow, obviously Mixon, and their defense hasn't allowed a second half touchdown this whole season. So that's something to look at. I think the Bengals are going to be just fine. I think they win that division. And then obviously the AFC West is just, that game last night, dude, I couldn't believe that like before the season, if you would have told me the Broncos Chargers put in a 19-16 game in overtime with 5 possessions in overtime, punting it back and forth, you call me crazy. That the AFC West and the Raiders too, the Raiders are at the bottom of the AFC after 5 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it is. Dude, I had them winning the division at the start of the year. So it's crazy to me that the AFC West has looked so bad. I think the Broncos are in for a lot of trouble. I think they don't know what to do. And then obviously the Chargers, I think if they get Keenan back and they get some guys back on defense and offense, they'll be good. But the AFC East, obviously, all 500 or above. I think the Jets have played really well. I think if Tua gets back, which he's coming back this week against Pittsburgh, I think the Dolphins could get hot again. And I think, that game in December, I think Bills fans, they're overlooking it because I still think, their offensive weapons are better than the Chiefs. I think they have one of the best, receiving cores, and their tight end is very talented. So that game's not going to be easy if Tua is 100%. And, even if it's in Buffalo. So the AFC East surprising, AFC West and AFC North, very surprising. I thought those were the 2 best divisions in the AFC. How about you?
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it. The AFC West, man, that was we were talking about maybe all 4 of them making it, and now We might have 2. I mean, I think you can count the Raiders pretty much out. I don't think McDaniels is going to be able to get it together. I don't think Derek Carr is looking good in that offense. He looks like he's just relying on throwing it up to Devontae Adams now. Josh Jacobs looks good, but I mean, they're already 1-4. It's going to be hard to overcome that. Defense does not look that great over there in Las Vegas. And then, yeah, you're talking about the Broncos, who, I mean, it's unbelievable what is coming out right now about Russell Wilson and being a teammate, and Hackett looks like might be the worst coach in the NFL. I mean, I know there's been a lot of coaches that have been looking pretty bad so far, including Josh McDaniels over there in Las Vegas.
And LA's coach, I think Chargers coach has been bad too.
Yes,
Stanley.
Staley's looked pretty bad too. Like it's really unbelievable how teams can hire guys and then they come in and look this bad. And it's not even just little stuff. I mean, even last night, you saw Staley just let the clock run out. He had 3 timeouts, and he just let the clock run out, which is unbelievable. Like, they still won the game, but they were very close to not winning that game. They were a muffed punt. I mean, Justin Herbert technically got a game-winning drive after in overtime, and he went 7 yards. Like, they got lucky. I think the Chargers got lucky. I think the Broncos are horrible. The Raiders are not a good football team. And yeah, like you said, the Broncos are in a lot of trouble, man. I mean, that contract's not up for a while. Nobody's going to take it on. And it's going to be tough to even get rid of. I mean, the earliest they might be able to get rid of it is 2025 maybe, and to have it be reasonable. So it's not looking good unless they can really figure it out. But I will say my number one takeaway from this is that the Titans are still a top 3 team technically in the AFC, right? Technically by record. I know that they had to bye this past week, so we don't know if they'd be 500 right now. And I did not expect them to even be close to 500. And I will say that I think their points for us right there says 96, and their points against is 118. So they're 3-2, but they are technically.
They played the Bills. That's why they played the Bills. That's why.
That's true. I did not actually think about that. So but they're minus 22 in that department, and the Bills technically that's because of the Bills. So I think the Titans have shocked me. I did not expect them to be this good. The Jets have shocked me. I mean, the Colts are kind of getting it together. I mean, Matt Ryan played better on Sunday, but he still didn't look. I mean, they still didn't look that great. But yeah, and then you look at the Patriots. Their defense looks like it's back. I think their defense is unbelievable. The Dolphins, who knows what their record would be right now if they had Tua, and then the Jets at 4-2. I mean, I know that they had that one crazy game against, I believe it was Pittsburgh or Cleveland, where they came back in the last 2 minutes. I mean, but still, they'd still be 3-3, and I think they'd be shocking a lot of people, especially what they did to Green Bay on Sunday. But the AFC been wild. But I do want to talk about. Let's just get into the NFC now, which has also been unbelievable. I just set my mic over. It's been crazy too. I mean, the whole NFL, like you said, has been crazy. So, what was your biggest takeaway of the NFC, and what division, team, or just player has really been standing out to you?
Yeah, so I'm going to go first Atlanta Falcons because they're the first thing I looked at. I think the Atlanta Falcons when I looked at that team, like prior to the year, I'm like, this team has 4 wins. They're going to win 3, 4, 5 games all season. I know they play the Bucs twice a year. I thought the Panthers would be better than what they are. I didn't lose hope on Baker. I thought they had a really talented team with McCaffrey coming back. They just shocked me, dude. Like, they beat the Niners last week. I know the 49ers were down 11 starters, but I mean, the Atlanta Falcons, dude, are 3-3 right now with Marcus Mariota. They have
tied for the top. They're tied for the top spot in the NFC South.
And you look at it, and it's like, I know they lose Calvin Ridley too. I know they got Drake London, and and they also lost Cordell Patterson to the IR. So it's crazy to me that team put up 28 points in the Niners and won. But that's one team, and then obviously the Bucs. I mean, dude, what is Brady doing? I mean, he is just the video clip of him just throwing the ball when Cameron Brate's off on the stretcher where the whole team's around him and he's off on the side. I know he has a lot going on personally, but he should have, it's looking more and more like Tom Brady made the absolute, wrong decision. And I think he might be aware of that. But he's always been a guy that's put in the work. He's always been a guy that's, I've never had a knock on Brady. I really respected him actually when he went to Tampa. I didn't have to deal with him with the Bills anymore. He was out of the division. And he goes to Tampa, wins a Super Bowl. I'm like, wow, like, dude, this guy's just a goat. And, he should have finished while he was on top, and now he might finish, with a bad reputation. It's just not good. And then, obviously Green Bay, you can't have a quarterback that's not all the way. And Aaron Rodgers is not all the way. They're off track. Him and LaFleur Rodgers said, we need to simplify things on offense. Matt LaFleur said, I don't know what that means today in a press conference. So they're miscommunicating. They also the Giants and the Jets the last 2 weeks. It's not good in Green Bay. I think Rodgers is just done. I don't think he doesn't care enough. He's got all rookies at the receiving core. They don't even give Aaron Jones the ball, enough. They're giving A.J. Dillon more carries. So just absurd. And then lastly, obviously the LA Rams, probably Allen Robinson's probably the most surprising player to me in terms of like not being successful. I thought he would really carry on with Matt Stafford and be that solid wide receiver too, which he hasn't been, although he did have a touchdown last week. He hasn't been consistent. And then obviously Giants, Cowboys. I know I could go through every team here, but Giants, Cowboys, just Giants find a way to win games. Dable Coach of the Year candidate. And then I think Dallas is the second best team in the NFC right now. As crazy as that sounds, I think their defense is insane. I think once they get Dak back, I think they have enough talent at the receiver room. I think if they lose CeeDee Lamb, they might be in trouble. But they got Zeke, they have Pollard, they have a Hall of Fame interior line. They have Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, the great pass rush, great corners. And so I go Cowboys, but second best team, and obviously the Eagles, no surprise, finding ways to win.
Yeah, I find it crazy though. We knew the NFC was going to be bad, but I didn't think they would be this bad. Because even those top two teams, the Philly and Minnesota, Philly hasn't played anybody good yet. Like in reality, have they played somebody that I have not seen a win of theirs? But even that win this past Sunday against Dallas, I didn't think that was an impressive win.
They beat Minnesota week 1.
Yeah, they beat Minnesota week 1.
Or week 2.
Week two. Yeah, it was week 2. Week 2, and Minnesota is also another team though. They're 5-1, and it's like how they're 5-1. They're the second best team right now by 2 games in the NFC. So I think that's been what the most surprising part to me is just how bad the whole NFC has been, and we knew they were going to be bad. Like the Giants are ruining their chances at a good quarterback right now because they're 5-1.
I don't like that take.
They are. Look, like let's be real. Daniel Jones is not the answer, and they're ruining their chances because they're winning games. And it's sad because I know a lot of Giants fans that are saying, it's awesome that we're winning, but when they get to the playoffs, they're not going all the way. They're not. In the
NFC, you don't. I think Dable gets the best out of his quarterbacks. I think Daniel Jones is doing what he
is, but he's still not the answer. And I will say this: once you get to the playoffs, it's a different type of football. And I'll go down the list right now. Eagles are beating them in the playoffs. Vikings are. I would still take the Bucks in the playoffs. I would take the Niners in the playoffs. Cowboys, Rams, maybe not right now because they look real bad. Falcons, I would take right now over the New York Giants. I would take the Atlanta Falcons over the New York Giants. And that, you might call me crazy, but the Atlanta offense has been unbelievable, and so is their defense. And maybe not unbelievable. Their defense has been pretty good. And I'm sorry, but Saquon Barkley is carrying the entire Giants offense right now. That's it. And to say that, they're 5-1. The Giants have the same record as us. And they're ruining their chances at a good.
Hey, great coaching, great situational football. Great coaching, great situational football. And Dable knows how to use his players. He's using Saquon every other play. It's working.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. Saquon doesn't want to be there next year. We already know it. He's not going to be there. And then you also look at the fact that is Danny Dimes going to be there? Probably not. And Dable's done a great job. I really think Dable, he should be head coach. He should be coach of the year. He's going to be a great coach for a long, long time there in New York. But they are ruining their chances at one of those top quarterbacks in this year's draft. And it's just true. You especially looking at the whole rest of the NFC. The Detroit Lions are better than the New York Giants. I will say that. And they're 1-4.
Who?
New York
Sorry.
Giants. What?
Who's better? Sorry.
The Detroit Lions are a better football team than the New York Giants.
I have to disagree with that.
If you flopped 1-score games, the Detroit Lions are 5-0.
I still
If you
disagree
swap
with
the
it.
outcomes, the Detroit Lions are a better football team. I mark my words, they are a better football team than the New York Giants. And if they played each other, which I kind of hope they do now, the Detroit I will bet my whole house on the Detroit Lions.
Okay,
But
I
either way,
got an example for you. So say the Jets like 3 years or 4 years ago when they drafted Darnold. Say for hypothetical, Dable goes to the Jets. They start 5-1. They end the year a little slower, but they still make the playoffs as like a wild card team. Get eliminated, don't have that high draft pick. They trade up, draft Sam Darnold. Now on the flip side of it, that's why I don't believe in like the idea that you live in the moment, and like for the guys in that room that have been there, the players that have been there, Leonard Williams, they added Adoree Jackson, for guys like that, guys that haven't really won many games. You got the Thibodeau from Oregon, the rookie, who's played really well, who strip sacked Lamar. I think it just brings, no matter what happens, I don't care. Like they'll figure out the quarterback situation. I think no matter how many games they win, I think you can trade up. You have Saquon, who you could maybe trade for a possible to move up. So I think living in the moment, and Dable has a lot to prove, and for a new head coach to be 5-1 with that roster. Obviously, it's not the most talented dude, but they're just, like I said, they're playing situational. And I think you could still have a terrible season, be that first pick, and say you draft C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young, and then in 2 years, you're in a bottom feeder again because C.J. Stroud didn't work out, and Bryce Young was that guy, and you messed up. So it's like live in the moment. That's the way I look at it, but I understand where you're coming from in terms of.
I will say this though: the Giants fans, Giants organization, they should be very happy because they have their coach, they have their regime, they know what they're doing. Because, like you said, this roster is not good. It's not. When you look at this roster, it's not a good football team. They should not be 5-1. Dable's made them 5-1, so I will give credit to Dable. I think they're going to be a great team for years to come, no matter who their quarterback is, because of what Dable can do. So I'll say that. I mean, that's true. Dable should be coach of the year. I mean, especially if they make the playoffs, easily coach of the year. Even if they win 7 games, they should be coached. If they win 2 more games, they could literally go 2-8 for the rest of the year, and I will still say Brian Dable should be the coach of the year. But I mean, it's a realistic possibility to make the playoffs right now.
Yeah, and the Minnesota. Wait, one more thing. The Minnesota Vikings are a glorified New York Giants. Limited quarterback, have better outside weapons, have better receivers, and that's it. Defenses are both pretty average. They both got good They both got good running backs.
I think the Giants have a really good defense, if I'm being honest.
That's what I mean. That's why I think Minnesota is a glorified. If you put Daniel Jones with J. Jeff and Adam Thielen, they'd be the better 5-1 team.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I think Kirk Cousins is miles ahead of Daniel Jones. I think what Dable's doing is putting Jones in the position of, don't turn the ball over. This is how you don't. Just give it to Saquon, and that's it. Because if you just let him go, like once they open the playbook up more, I think then you'll start seeing Daniel Jones turn it over more. But hey, good for the Giants. There's still only one team in New York anyways, so that's what matters. But let's get into the last topic that we have here, which is we're going to go over the quarterbacks from the drought and just kind of talk about who's your favorite one / who do you think could have been the best in this type of team, this type of culture.
I'm probably, if on this type of team and this type of culture, probably Fitzy, dude. Like Fitzy on this team would probably be pretty nice. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he would have brought us to the playoffs a couple of years with this team and this defense, with these weapons. So if you say it that way, definitely Fitzy. But my favorite, he was kind of, he was a quarterback that wasn't really appreciated, 5th round pick, kind of a runner, not really that great throw the ball, but he came to Buffalo and played really well. And I really love Tyrod for what he did here. He's probably my favorite quarterback from the drought, along with Thad Lewis, who I thought Thad Lewis, dude, in the 5 games he played, if he could have stayed healthy, dude, like I really liked what I saw from Thad. So Thad's always someone that like I kind of remember is like EJ went down and then Thad did not look bad at all, but he just couldn't stay healthy. And the team was just so bad around him. It was kind of hard to like judge him on his performance.
Thad is one that I will say I wish I could have seen more of, man. That 5 game stretch, I was ready to say he's the next franchise guy. I was genuinely ready. And I know, like, obviously back then we were down pretty bad. Looking at this list, if we thought Thad Lewis was going to be a franchise quarterback, like that, you're down bad. Like, that's how bad we were. But I will say I think Drew Bledsoe might have been the best quarterback out of all of these guys. But I think if Trent Edwards could stay healthy, he would have been a good NFL quarterback. I will live by that. I genuinely think that he did not look bad his first 2 years in the league when he played, and then he kept getting injured, and then that's why we brought Fitz in. And obviously you see 4 years he didn't play 16 games at all. The highest he played was 14. So I think Trent Edwards, I would have loved to see him on this team. Obviously, if he could stay healthy. Kyle Orton, one of my favorites. I will say he was up there, but I think my favorite was Fitzy. I mean, he was just one of those guys where he was fun, even though we weren't that great. Obviously, Tyrod's up there. Tyrod, as soon as it is funny though, as soon as Tyrod came onto the team, like the hype just grew because he kept making those crazy catches as a quarterback in practice, and those highlights would get out, and then he was just an electric player, and I will say this, he had a hell of a deep ball. He had one hell of a deep ball, and it was one of the best things, part of his game, and I wish he would have done it more. So there's a couple guys that I liked on this list. It is crazy to think that we went from the guys on this list to now having, in our opinion, and in some people's opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL. And we should have him for the next 10 plus years. And it's crazy to look at. I mean, we had Matt Castle starting games, Jeff Toole. Jeff Toole.
Dude, Jeff Toole game was awesome, bro. He almost beat the Chiefs at home, and then he threw the pick six and broke my heart.
Well, the other guy, too, that technically I didn't put him on here because it was the year we won. We broke the drought, I think, was Peterman. But Peterman technically was a drought quarterback.
He was one of my favorites, too.
Dude, I remember I thought Peterman was the guy before he ever played a game because, dude, that's the thing is out of college, he was accurate. He still was in the NFL. He was a very accurate quarterback, but man, did he not know how to make the right decision. That was just what killed him. I will still to this day live and die by the fact that if he could make the right decisions, he would be a good NFL starting quarterback because that man was accurate. That preseason before he ever started a game, he looked great. And I think a lot of people thought that too, but EJ Manuel was in there too. I don't know if we traded up for EJ Manuel, which was unbelievable. But I mean, who knows? If EJ Manuel's in this offense now with Sean McDermott, maybe it's a different story. Maybe we're saying, he's a good NFL quarterback. Maybe not amazing, but maybe he's a good NFL quarterback. But maybe we'll be doing these again in the future, looking at different positions. But just wanted to look that up. Any last words you want to say before we go into the bye week?
Yeah, just enjoy the bye week. A lot of good football this weekend. I know there's not many good games, but hopefully some upsets that we can watch. Turn on Red Zone, watch Scott Hansen. Which is awesome because I've been able to do that a lot more this year because the Bills haven't played at 1 o'clock a lot. So I've been able to watch, almost. There's only been 2 weeks where I have not put on. Well, I have Red Zone on the side, but I'm not really focused on it. So 4 out of 6 weeks, I've been able to watch and enjoy Red Zone for at least the 1 o'clock game, sometimes even the 4. So enjoy it. Bills are 5-1. A lot of work to do. This game means a lot, but it doesn't mean a lot at the same time. Enjoy Josh Allen. I know he's in California right now, living his life, having fun. So that's about it.
Yeah. For those of you who are Sabres fans too, tune in 30 minutes. We got the Sabres playing Edmonton at 9 o'clock. But yeah, so I mean, Sabres are back, Bills are back. It's a good time to be a Buffalo sports fan right now. I mean, can't really ask for much more. Shout out to my cousin for accidentally planning his wedding during the bye week. that's great, awesome, because that's where I'll be this weekend instead of watching football. But yeah, enjoy the weekend. Yeah, and root for every single team not in the AFC to win. So yeah, but we'll see you guys next week. Be sure to subscribe.
Warriors repeat. Warriors repeat. Warriors repeat.
My Celtics are back. We're going back. We're getting back there, and we're finishing the job this year.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
High five with your superstar Jason Tatum, who's not consistent.
Hey man, hey. Jason Tatum is that man. He dunked on LeBron his rookie year. That's all I care about. But yeah, I mean, enjoy the bye week. Like, subscribe, comment. Be sure to tell your friends, tell your family, tell Josh Allen to tune in, DM him, say it. But yeah, as always, go Bills and enjoy your weekend.